Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dayton Drama Queens. I'm Josh Stuckey.
I'm Philip Drennan.
Yes, and we are your resident thespians for the day.
What'd you call me?
A thespian.
It's a thespian.
Make sure you get it right. No, anyway, we have an incredible guest with us. You know, we were talking about the comeback of Dayton Arts, all the different places you can get involved. I don't know anybody. I really don't that's been more involved than you, Tina. Tina McPhearson is here with us.
Yes, welcome, Tina.
Thank you.
Welcome, Tina.
It is a privilege to be here.
It's exciting to have you. It really is.
Thank you.
Because I feel like you and I have known each other
Well,
for
we have.
a generation.
Right,
It's
we
just
have.
Good to
Absolutely.
really to get down and connect. So, first of all, are you
Yes.
from Dayton?
Born and raised.
Okay, born and raised in
Okay.
Dayton. Which
Born
is
and
great.
raised in Dayton, Ohio.
You know, among many people, you know that this town has options now with so
Yes.
many different things that are going on within our city. So tell us, how did you get involved? Did you have a degree in the arts? How did you get involved in the arts? How did it all get started?
How did it all
for
get
you?
started?
Yes.
Well, about 365 years ago, there was a little thing called Kenley Players in town,
my
and
gosh.
it was a summer stock company. And
Yeah.
my parents bought season tickets.
Okay.
And we always went to the theater when my sister and I were little, but we got season tickets, and then my mother and I would go and see every single show.
Okay.
And that really gave me a love of theater.
Yeah.
And then I actually got a job with John Kenley.
Really?
Yes. My
not know
first
that.
job there was as an usher. Then you moved to ticket taker. Then you moved to concessions. Then the big time was if you sold programs.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I think you might have gotten a dime or something for each program that you sold or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then one year I was actually an apprentice actress backstage, and I learned so much working
Wow, I
backstage,
bet.
especially with all the union guys. And it's been such a joy because I know their kids, and now we have worked together. So that's how it all started.
Okay.
Going to Kenley Players.
Okay. And where was Kenley? Did it
It was
float?
at Memorial Hall.
Memorial Hall.
It was at
That's
Memorial
right.
Hall,
Okay.
and they used to travel to the Star Theater. Okay, now I can't remember where all it was, where he started. There were usually three different theaters that he went to.
Okay. Okay.
And then we'd always be here in Dayton for
Yeah.
a week, and I think we did 13 shows over the summer.
Okay.
And so everyone from Ava Gabor
Oh, you remember
had to pick
all
her up
this.
at the airport.
You went to Marion's. Their pictures were on the
Marion's
wall.
Pizza. You had to go to Marion's. That was Tuesday night was Ted Parker's Top of the Mall.
Okay,
You would go
okay.
there for a party, and then Wednesday night was your pizza party.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yes.
I just remember just like seeing all the faces and how that was such a big deal.
Yeah, what a cool
Yeah.
time.
Oh, it
my
really
God.
was. And I got to see so many shows
Yeah.
that you probably never would have seen. Everything from like high button shoes. No one does that.
You're right.
Yeah.
But I was blessed. I got to see. I got to see Robert Preston do The Music Man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I saw Ethel Merman do Call Me Madam. So a lot of times there were,
Yeah.
I think I saw Joel Grey do Cabaret.
Get out of town.
Yeah, some of the Broadway
These are
people
like
would
legends.
actually come
Yes.
in when
Yeah.
it first started many years ago. And then it became TV stars, which is fine. You're Paul Lynn's, all
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
It's so much fun.
So that's how it started.
Okay, yeah.
And then
And
I
then-
was in theater in high school, of
Yes,
course.
yes.
And you have to do that.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to Wayne.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Went to Wayne,
All right,
Wayne,
okay.
Wayne, and did that. And then I went to college. I went to Ohio State and Wright State, and I got a degree in speech and theater education
Okay.
with a minor in film history.
Wow.
And an emphasis on theater. And I taught high school theater for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
had no idea.
I
This
did
is
that.
new. I didn't
Trotwood
know-
Madison High School,
Okay.
12 years.
Okay.
Even though I didn't have a degree in English. Oops, I taught some English.
I bet you were-
radio.
I bet your
media.
students
We
loved
had the
you.
best time.
I bet.
We did 5 shows a year. I directed them all.
Wow.
And
What a
it
like.
was great. It was
Yeah,
great.
that's
I
great.
was never home, but that was okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you teach all day, and then we would have rehearsal and then
yes,
or play
I
practice,
remember.
as they called it back
Play
in the
practice.
day. Play practice, and then we had to build a set. And of course, I'm still great friends with so many of my students that have done so
Oh, yeah.
well here in town.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Rediger was one of my students. Did you know
I
that?
had no.
Oh.
Yes, he runs a Dayton
Okay.
Art. He was one of my students.
I did not know that. This is crazy. Then what?
Wow.
So 12 years I taught,
Yes.
and then we had I was riffed because someone else
Okay.
had more seniority than I did. And so they took my position, which is fine. We're still good friends, as a matter of fact. And I didn't have a job. And at the time, Michael Rediger was working at the Victoria Theater Association.
Yes,
He said,
I knew
hey,
he
there's
had
a
a connection
part-time
there.
job if you want to, if you're interested. And I thought, well, I'm not doing anything. So I applied for it. It was for assistant house manager, work with David Hastings, one of my all-time favorite people in the world. And then it went full-time. And I did that for a few years. And then the position at the Dayton Playhouse opened up. It was still at that time a position with the city for managing director, and applied and got that job. So I worked part-time at the Victoria Theater house managing and full-time at the Dayton Playhouse running that for 2.5 years. And then I had an opportunity to leave and move to Florida to run a equity house on Sanibel Island, which sounds really beautiful.
I was gonna say that sounds amazing. No?
Only if you're not the worker bee there, but it was
see. Okay.
it was fine.
Yeah.
And I went with Bob Calfin. Bob Calfin I had met because he had been an adjudicator at Future Fest, and that's so he said, "Come down with me." So I went down, and I worked there 1 year. That was enough.
Yeah.
I missed the seasons and the big cities and all of that.
And you had a family here. I mean,
Oh, yes.
a theater
yes.
family.
Yeah,
a
the
regular,
theater
all that,
family. My
all
mom
of
and
it.
dad were here. My
Yes.
sister was here. So,
Yes.
yeah. So I came back after a year, and as luck would have it, my old house management job came up at the Victoria. And so I took that, and probably, I don't know how many months later, our programming director left. And they hired me to be the programming director at the Victoria. And then maybe 9 months after that, I ended up being the vice president of programming, education, and outreach.
Okay.
So I did that for about 10 years. So my responsibilities were I chose the seasons, I negotiated the contract, anything that fell under the auspices of the Victoria Theater Association, then I did all the contracts and booked all the seasons.
Gotcha. Wow.
So and any education programs, I oversaw them. Of course, we had a great staff.
Yeah.
So I did that until 2003, I guess. So that was I was there almost 20 years at the Victoria Theater.
Okay.
And my father was diagnosed with dementia, and I had to move him out of his house and get him into a nursing home. So I left the Victoria Theater and took care of him for a while. In the interim, I worked part-time at City Folk.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Were you
Booking
here
their
for
city.
Folk?
I booked the
So-
last City Folk Festival.
That was
I know.
just
It was-
amazing. It was
fun-
amazing.
They were lovely people to work with,
Yeah.
and we shared an office with Culture Works at the time.
Yes.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed that.
You have-
But unfortunately, they just couldn't keep up, and so they disbanded.
Yeah.
Like,
I do remember that.
arts organizations will do
They do.
sometimes.
They do.
So
That's for sure.
sprung back. And
Yeah.
then I got a call from a friend of mine that said, look, we're looking for somebody to open up the Goodwill store in Oakwood, and we think you would be really good. And I went, well, I've never done retail before,
Yeah.
but okay. So I did that for about 6 or 7 months, learned a lot about retail
Yeah. It's
that I never had before.
No, that's rough stuff.
And then I was doing, I've done some freelance work. I've done some freelance work for the Grammy Museum. Michael Sticka, who runs the Grammy Museum, is a native Daytonian.
Love that Michael Stick.
And Michael is everything in a bag of chips. So
He
I
is. I
worked for
love
him
him.
for about 6 or 7 months doing some development work, and also mostly I worked on all their study guides and pamphlets for their education and families that would come to the museum. So I did that also. I also did some freelance work for the Dayton Art Institute, booking shows because they used to have an Arts Night Out series. So I did that on my own through all of this.
Yeah.
I know how to book a show or negotiate a contract. I'm really good at that. And then I started working just a couple of days a week at the guest services desk at the museum.
Yeah.
And that kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And now I'm the external affairs assistant manager. So I am in charge of everything at the front desk, the store employees. So I have about 8 people that I work with. And then just the jazz series, I book all the jazz series that we have there.
You
all of
are
that.
literally
Anything
amazing.
we did a film series last year. I used to book a film series too. So programming has been a lot of my background. And then all during this time, I've done community theater at the race. I've been in, I can't tell you how many shows. A lot of shows. So that's always been my love that never really got paid for, except the race. But
Yes. So the Playhouse.
Yes.
Has the Playhouse always been where it is at
No,
Wickerson?
the Playhouse originally. Well, now I might be wrong about this. So you're
Well, no, I've
Playhouse
just always been
oldsters.
curious about that. So, yeah.
Yeah, we were. I think it started. I want to say Longfellow, and it probably didn't. Then we moved to 3rd Street. And it was there really close to Old Hickory Barbecue on East 3rd Street.
did not
I did a couple
know
of shows
that.
there on
Okay.
East 3rd Street. And then in 1985, the building opened
Okay.
at Weggers and Garden
Okay.
Center. And it's been there ever since.
That place has a rich history. The Dayton
Oh, yeah.
Playhouse.
Oh, it really does. So
Yes.
it started in 1959, so 66 years old.
Okay.
That's
yeah.
incredible.
And it was a combination of different theater groups and a couple of music groups, I think.
Okay.
And it's a lot of changes, but it has still remained.
Whatever it takes to survive.
Whatever it takes,
honestly.
whether it's been monetary issues, we've made it through, made it better. We've had great board chairs who supported us and really helped fundraise for us. So
Speaking
we're
of that,
strong. Yes.
Speaking of that, we were talking about this earlier, this political climate.
Yes.
Just how will arts organizations survive? What do you see for arts in Dayton, especially? Do you think we're going to get through this time?
We're going to get through it because art always makes it through.
It does.
And
What a good
it's
community
hopefully
we
only
band
4
together.
years, so I could,
Right.
we survived COVID. We could certainly.
Well,
Very
that's
true.
a good
You
point,
know,
Tina. That's a
Now, how long it'll take to dismantle the foolishness, in my
Yes.
opinion, and also when it comes to things like the Kennedy Center, and I just
yes.
think that's
I know.
Yeah.
I can't begin to speak about how wrong that is
It is
to
so
take
wrong.
over. And when the arts has been the only place when everything else around you might be falling, that's where you're accepted, no matter what you are, what you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you strive to be, and if you're creative.
Yeah.
So usually there aren't a whole lot of boundaries in arts organizations because that's where your creativity comes
Right.
from. Yes, you have to raise funds. Yes, you have to. But I work at the DAI right now, and we are fully committed
Yeah.
to DEI.
Yeah. I love that. I love what's
That's
happening.
nice to hear.
Still
That's
have
nice to hear.
we have mornings with our mission where we talk about anything we want. I get the speakers for that too, and it might be people who partner with us.
Yeah.
It might be somebody on our staff who has led a different path life,
Yes.
and they're talking to us about that. So.
And Dayton Public Schools just came out and said, we're not.
Right.
We're not
I
folding
love
on
the fact
this.
that Harvard University just
I
said
do
we don't
too.
think so.
Yeah, you're going too
Yeah.
far with this craziness.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
For sure.
And one thing, and you know this because you've been here forever. One thing that just always seems to stay buoyed is the arts in Dayton.
Yes.
There's something about this community.
I agree. And we could lose an arts organization and 3 more will pop up.
Absolutely.
I mean, I hated the fact that we lost Rhythm and Shoes.
Oh my.
Oh,
But,
was
but still, we get to see it. But they have kind of morphed, and now I still get to see Sharon and Rick when they are with us for Puzzle of Light. They still are part of that. So I still get to see them, but it's nice. But yeah, I mean, let's think about. Everybody goes, oh, I hate when new places open up because that's just more competition. And that makes it, I love competition.
Oh,
yeah.
That means you need to rise up and there are
Right.
more choices for people. There's
That's
nothing
right.
wrong.
I think
there's
it
nothing wrong
gives
with competition.
each of the organizations too an opportunity to kind of find their niche.
Yes.
What makes us
Yeah.
different, and how can we get people to support all of us, and have different experiences at each place.
Right. All the shows are different. Or in fact, we might do same shows. Next year we're going to be doing the full month.
Right, yeah.
We'll still get people to come.
Oh,
That's a great show.
absolutely. It's a
Why
great
would you
show.
not?
Right.
The opera, when you think about the opera, and I also work for the opera because it's at one point we kind of incorporated the opera into the Victoria Theater Association. And there's 20, 30 operas you can hear a lot about. They're classics, just like Broadway shows are classics.
They're
So
right.
yes, you're going to want to
Yes.
see Les Mis more than once.
That's right.
A couple years ago, I think you couldn't drive 2 miles without seeing Something Rotten somewhere.
Yeah.
Every
Oh, no,
every
everybody was
theater in
doing
town
Something
was doing it.
Rotten.
Jekyll and
Great
Hyde
show.
had a moment.
Jekyll and
Remember
Hyde
Jekyll and
had,
Hyde?
right?
And they do. And
Well,
they do.
it was funny because we were I chair the artistic committee at the Playhouse, and so
Yes.
we choose the shows, and then we chose a season, and then immediately we found out you were doing the full monty. We went, who cares? It's a year away.
It's a year
great.
away.
Good for them. They're
Right,
doing the full
Chicago, and
monty.
it was 5
and
minutes
we're
ago,
gonna
it was
do
in
the
Dayton
full
Live.
monty. Who
Yes.
cares?
Who
I
cares?
think it's kind of exciting because then you can say, "Oh, I want to see how they do. I like
Right,
this show.
right, 'cause
I want
then
to see
you get a
it
chance
with
to
different
see
people."
how different it is.
It's
It's true.
You we're going to do Jesus Christ Superstar next year, and I'm thinking, I wonder how Shauna, the director, will do it.
Yeah.
How different or how modern, or you can do it any way
That's
you
one of those
want.
shows that you never know what
You
you're
never know what you're
walk
going
in
to
the
get.
door.
I
It's-
know.
So,
So cool
when
that
you're all together, say, and you don't have to get us too deep into your process, but talking about, is there certain criteria when you say, is this a Dayton Playhouse experience?
Yes,
Is this what can kind of give us an insight
the way
into
that we do it is that we have a committee of about 9 people, and they are free to submit shows if they wish. And then we also we get to do a call out for directors, and if they're interested in whatever shows they're interested, they can send us those scripts, and if one of their shows isn't chosen, we ask them, are you still interested in directing? And yes or no. So then we all get together and we read through.
And that's smart.
First off, we'll look. The very first thing I put it's on a huge Excel spreadsheet, and if let's just say Dayton Live just did it, or it's been done 3 or 4 times. We look back and see the last time we did it. We have our historian who looks through things to tell us when. Richard Brock's got it all laid out for us. And then we say, this we're never going to do. This is just not a show. We're not going to do Old Calcutta.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Sure.
I'd come if you did.
Right, of course, I would too, but Old Calcutta, nobody does that anymore.
Right, yeah.
And there's some that, my gosh, everybody and his brother's done. We also look to see, we do 3 musicals and 2 straight plays. And we always try to pick a smaller musical in January, or sometimes we go over a little bit. We did Into the Woods a few years ago.
Yeah.
But this past year we did Avenue Q, which is much smaller, one set show.
Avenue Q,
and then we bookend with large musicals.
Yeah.
And we try then also to do a mystery and a comedy, or a drama and a comedy, because we only have 2 slots for straight shows. But then what we also do is we go as far as to count up how many male and females. We look to see so that we
That's
have an equal
great.
balance
That's so smart.
of as best we can of male and female.
I know, I'm
and also
taking
we
notes
try,
here.
what we try to do is, if we're picking a musical that is really singing, that there's another musical that has a little bit of dance in it. So
Sure.
people who like to perform in the chorus. And then we work up all these different seasons, and we count up how many people are in each one, and then we there'll be some fighting.
So-
Definitely.
So,
So it comes up.
so do you yourself, we ask everybody this, do you have like a favorite musical that you
was
just
gonna ask the same
love,
thing.
love being in, or love directing, or love, just watching?
God, I love so many.
Oh, I know.
I do
Yeah.
love the Full Monty. I really do.
It's
love
such
the
a
Full
great
Monty.
show.
I love the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. I've done it 5 times.
That-
I've only done it 1 time as the Madam. I've done Angel and
That is one of my favorites. What a good time. It just is.
and Avenue Q. I'll watch. I like contemporary musicals more than older traditional musicals. Not that I don't like Sound of Music, but I've seen it.
Right.
Yes,
A
I get
lot,
what you mean. of
but it's a
course.
classic, so I think everyone should do it. I loved Pippin. Tried to do
Pippin.
some more. We did Pippin when I first when I was teaching back in 1981. We did a long time ago.
Yeah. That's
We were the first high school in the United States to do Into the Woods at Trotwood. We did Into the
Oh.
Woods too. I didn't realize it till I got this letter that said, "Congrats, you're the first."
Yes.
Wow, well,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Wish we would have known that before. We could have put it in the program.
Yeah.
Right.
And what's really cool is the fact that with all these arts organizations, there are so many people that show up to do these shows. It's like Dayton is a small community with this big amount of talent that seems to be
Really?
everywhere.
And
Yeah.
people used to say, "Well, how come you didn't go to New York or whatever?" And I said, there are a lot of people who are every bit as talented as the people in New York, but
Which is what you say.
they chose a family,
Yeah.
and they chose a different career path. But boy, are they're driven, but their path went a different way. But they're so talented.
And so,
as you know.
this came up today. Sometimes you just need a backyard. I mean,
Yes.
you need some green.
I'll tell you what, I was blessed at the Victoria Theater. I was a Tony voter, and part of my education was I saw mostly everything that came out in New York.
Yeah.
And I know some people say, "Well, you got the best job in the world," because but this is a real job. It's called show business for a reason. There's a business behind it,
Yeah.
and there is an entire group of people who that's what they do. The League of American Theaters and the American Theater Wing, and I was part of the Tonys. We take it very seriously to watch these shows and to rate the shows and to see what's going to work for us and what's going to work on the road, because we were a roadhouse. So I got a chance to see a lot in the day.
Yeah. That's
A lot
so
in
great.
the day. And so it was good because I got to see there were so many wonderful plays that never get to date.
Yeah.
I wish there were more plays that could get
Would
to
you get
Dayton.
back on stage?
But I would. Yeah, I would. I did Dolly 2 years ago, and then we all caught COVID the final week.
I
and it
remember
killed us all. I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
And so I have not been in a show since that.
Okay.
And I haven't directed anything either.
Is there an
but now I'm
absolute
working
dream?
full time again too. So that
Sure,
makes-
that's
you know.
tricky.
And it's hard.
If there's a like just one dream role that you haven't done, is there one that you think of?
Oh my!
I know that's a hard question.
There's probably a lot, but I'm way too old now.
If none of that matters,
That's a dream.
though.
Like, isn't this awful? I can't.
No, it's not awful because
Dolly is what I wanted to do,
And
so
you
I
got
got
to
a
do
chance
Dolly.
to do Dolly.
that show. I
Yeah.
love
What a
that.
great role.
Yeah,
Oh my
that
gosh.
was fun to do.
I will tell you, I know it was when I saw Bet do Dolly on Broadway. That was. People, if you're a theater person, there are moments in your life you'll never forget if you
Right.
really get into that kind of stuff, and that was one of those
Yeah,
moments.
I got to see, and I still go to New York as often as I can
Yes.
because it's my duty to see what's out there and what we should be doing at the Playhouse,
Yes.
and that's
Yep.
And a lot of people on the committee do that. Tim Rezash, he goes to.
I love that Tim Reese.
You and me both, honey.
Yeah.
Tim Rezash and I used to be roommates.
Oh, my
many
God.
years ago. Yes, we were. We did a lot of shows together.
Yeah.
We did their playing
Great
Our
guy.
song. We did.
That's a great
We did
man.
a lot of shows back in the day.
Yeah. Well, listen, on that note, it's time for this show to end already. I told you it's so.
So fast.
We have totally enjoyed. You got to come back.
Yes.
Oh, I know. We got more to talk about. I know.
Exactly. And Tina, where do we find all this stuff? How do we get tickets to Dayton Playhouse?
Dayton Playhouse, just go to DaytonPlayhouse.com.
Okay.
Go to
DAI.
our website. For the Dayton Art Institute, you just go to DaytonArt.org.
Okay.
We've got great things coming up at the Dayton Art
Yes,
Institute,
you do.
too. We have the Art Ball's coming up. Already sold out, though, folks.
Wow.
They got to be fast.
That's
I know.
amazing, yeah.
We have Jamie Wyeth Unsettled. We have
Yes.
three or four really fabulous specials that are going on. A Taste of Pop with our Hockneys and Liechtenstein and Warhol. They're amazing. And at the Playhouse, we're getting ready to open up The Unsinkable Molly Brown.
Oh,
at the
that's
first
another
weekend in
fun
May.
one. Fun,
I know,
fun,
and nobody
yes.
does it anymore. It's a new
Yes,
script.
yes.
Aaron Lopez is directing. So
Yeah.
I've got my fingers in a lot of
It's
things
great,
in the
yeah.
arts. And I
Amazing.
couldn't be more thrilled that Dayton has so many wonderful arts organizations to
They
offer
do.
people.
Thank
you.
Great place to live.
Yes.
Thank
Absolutely.
you guys.
Thanks, Tina.
We need to thank Square One Salon. We need to
Yes.
thank Theater Lab. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Keep this thing growing and going. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you to Tina McPhearson.
Thank you.
We will check back in with you next time right here on
Sounds
Dayton
good.
Comic Con.
Thank
See
you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.